Welcome to Wisdom for Nonprofits, bringing the best business wisdom to the nonprofit world. Proven leaders share their experience, insights, and best practices. Finally, a podcast for the busy nonprofit professional. And now, your trusted advisor, Betina Pflug.
Welcome to another insightful episode of the Wisdom for Nonprofit podcast. In today's episodes, we are delighted to have a special guest, David Wachs, a serial entrepreneur and the founder of Handwrytten. With his innovative venture, David is revolutionizing the art of letter written through scalable, robot-based solutions that elegantly craft handwritten notes. Can you believe it? Having developed Handwrytten as a versatile platform, David has enabled individuals and organizations to effortlessly send personalized notes directly from their CRM system, websites, apps, and through custom integrations. The impact of Handwrytten extends across diverse sectors, creating meaningful connection in a digital age. Before launching Handwrytten, David founded Sellit, a renowned mobile marketing agency. His expertise in mobile marketing and customer engagement play a pivotal role in his company's success, ultimately leading to its acquisition by Hello World in 2012. In this episode, we delve into the world of appreciation marketing and the transformative power of handwritten notes. Join us as David shares his insights and boosting donor retention through appreciation marketing in the nonprofit sector. Discover how nonprofits can leverage technology, personalized communication, and tap into the importance of genuine connection to foster lasting relationship with their donors. Get ready to gain invaluable wisdom and practical strategies from a true industry leader. Stay tuned for an engaging conversation on how appreciation marketing can elevate your nonprofit's impact. Welcome, David. Thank you for here with us today.
Thank you, Betina. It's an absolute honor to be here.
Can you delve into the nonprofit sector here, more building relationship with donors, how crucial it is to have a long-term sustainability? And how can nonprofits effectively create a better relationship with their donors through appreciation marketing?
Yeah, so one of the largest issues for nonprofits, as you know, is really redonation rates. And the average nonprofit in the United States has a redonation rate of around 42%. So less than half of all donors give again. And what is driving this redonation rate? Why isn't it over 50% or 60% or higher? Well, a marketing company unrelated to Handwrytten did a study, and they found that the donors didn't feel appreciated. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could be that you did email them a thank you note. You didn't call, you didn't do anything, or you reached out to them in a way where they never received the note, such as, so for example, with email, you might have emailed them a thank you note and they thought, well, this is just a piece of junk email. I'm not going to bother reading it, so they didn't feel thanked that way. Or you sent them an email, they did read it, and they thought, well, it didn't take you any effort to send an email, so you're not really thanking them that way either, because it's just an automatic response. Or perhaps you sent them a printed piece, and then they get that printed piece in the mail and they think it's another donor envelope or a bill or something, and they don't open it. That also is a failed thank you. So what these nonprofits really need to do is look for ways to have that thank you get across and really feel genuine and really feel like a true thank you, so that that donor feels appreciated for what they've done and they'll want to redonate again. And that's where a solution like Handwrytten or another handwritten solution, and there's a few of us out there, can really drive redonation rates for these nonprofits.
That's great. And at the beginning, we were discussing the difference between your system and the regular system where we can enable handwriting. Can you explain what's the difference between what you do and the other companies do?
Yeah, so Handwrytten, we're based in the United States. There is a similar company in Canada and a few in the UK. But what we do is we have 175 robots. Each robot holds a real pen, and it writes out handwritten notes just like you would, varying each character, varying the spacing between lines, varying the left margin, bending the text ever so slightly so it doesn't look like it's gone straight across the page to create a truly authentic look. And then if anybody has any questions, they might lick their finger and smudge the ink and see that it actually smudges. So while it's not a genuine thank you that you wrote out yourself, it's about as close as it comes. And we're used by some of the largest nonprofits in the United States. We're also used by celebrities, luxury brands, realtors, veterinarians, and so many other industries, because we do have the largest scale of these robots. We build the robots in our facility in Phoenix, Arizona, and then we release them on our floor to write out these handwritten notes. So that's really the difference. Is sometimes laser printed notes look laser printed, depending on the vendor, and these have a much more organic look because the ink truly kind of follows the nooks and crannies of the paper and the ink smudges.
Wow, that's incredible. And as nonprofits increasingly rely on digital communication to engage with donors, what type of digital strategies and platforms have you found be the most effective in eliciting this positive response from donors?
Well, we don't really play in the digital space. My prior life, prior to Handwrytten, I ran text messaging for some very large brands in the United States. We do see, I don't think it's right to, while we play in the handwritten space, I'm not here to say that handwritten notes are the way to get across all communication. Of course, you still need that constant cadence of emails and potentially text messages and a social media presence to really stay top of mind. So in some of our best examples, we've seen our clients have their donors share their experience with the handwritten notes. So for example, we have a veterinarian brand that sends birthday invitations or birthday cards to the pets on their birthdays. Now, this isn't a nonprofit, but it's a kind of a similar example. And then they have those pets put on the birthday hats and hold the handwritten cards, and they're taking pictures. And it's kind of a viral marketing strategy for that veterinarian brand. In the pure nonprofit space, a lot of what we do is strictly handwritten notes. So we work with, for instance, and I'm allowed to mention them, I'm not allowed to mention most of our clients, Team Rubicon, which helps rebuilding efforts around the United States and globally. And for them, they send out handwritten notes after a major donation drive. And they'll even include military patches because they have a strong military alignment. So those patches kind of have, really kind of spread the message of appreciation too. The donors often put these patches on their clothes and wear them, and that creates an offline viral effect. But really, we tried it, unlike potentially most of the companies you interview on your show, we don't really play in the online space. So unfortunately, I can't speak to some of that.
But handwritten notes have been proven to generate returns for business and nonprofits. How can nonprofits leverage this power of handwriting notes in their appreciation marketing efforts to strengthen connection with their donors?
Yeah, absolutely. So the number one way we recommend using handwritten notes is obviously to thank, and we are in the business of appreciation and gratitude, is obviously to thank after a donation. We also say to get in front of that donor 2 to 3 more times a year. So that could be a birthday card that you send to the donor. If you happen to have their birthday information, we can automate that for you. Certainly a holiday card for Christmas or New Year's, and then maybe one other time, such as a anniversary of donation, where maybe you express how much impact their donation had over the last year. So really getting in front of that client 2 to 4 times a year is kind of the perfect cadence that we feel has a true impact. Now, part of this is really automating these handwritten notes, and you can upload your donors' information directly into our platform at handwrytten.com, or we can integrate with your existing platform. So for for example, we integrate with Salesforce.com. We have a whole plugin that allows you to send notes directly within Salesforce. And right now we're integrating with Blackbaud Razor's Edge to allow a similar type experience where within Blackbaud you can select the donor or people that have attended an event, and then send all of them a thank you note for participating in the event or giving a donation. And then that handwritten note gets recorded back to the activity or the event timeline within those platforms. So you know that you called them on Tuesday, emailed them on Wednesday, and sent them a handwritten note on Thursday, and it's all kind of captured in one source of truth. The other benefit of that is you don't have to re-enter any information, and it can be as automated as possible, such as within Salesforce, when a donor hits a certain stage in a pipeline, you can send them a handwritten note, and we're hoping for similar integrations in our Blackbaud as well.
So, for example, an integration with a website, when someone join your newsletter, you can also do that, or when someone sign up to become a volunteer, you can automate this process on the website or just in the CRM platform?
No, we can absolutely do it on the website too. That's an excellent point. So we integrate with two, I would call them no code or middleware platforms that many people are familiar with. One is Zapier, and then the other one is make.com, which is a little it used to be called Integromat, now it's called make.com. But using Zapier, for instance, after people register for an event, you can absolutely send them a handwritten note very, very easily without any code writing. The beautiful thing about Zapier is how widely it's been adopted. I think they have close to 4,000 different integrations available. So we are one of those 4,000. So theoretically, if platform A, such as your web form on your website, has a Zapier Zap, we can take that information and send a handwritten note quite easily. We use Zapier a lot around handwritten ourselves. In fact, the Zapier company came to our office and filmed the whole commercial on Zapier because we use them so much. And then Make is very similar. It provides a little bit more robust tools than Zapier, but it's a little bit of a steeper learning curve. Both of them are tremendous tools, and if you take the time to learn them, or your clients take the time to learn them, you're certainly to get a lot of value out of those platforms. But we're always amazed with the ease of integration that our clients are able to do by taking their platform, whether it's a web form or an event platform, and within 1 or 2 clicks tying it to handwritten and sending a really personable and memorable note. And what they can do on our website, you can log in, upload an image of your event or an image of your cause, create a card, and then we will write on that card. And then now we have the ability to also include QR codes on there. Those QR codes are tracked at the recipient level. So we'll know if I sent a card to you, Betina, I'll know that you scan that QR code versus someone else, which is kind of powerful and allows you to kind of then follow up in your marketing based on action or no action on behalf of those donors. And very soon, very shortly, we're going to be coming out with delivery confirmation as well. So we will be able to tell the cause when those notes are received, so that perhaps you follow up with a text message or an email saying, be sure to check your inbox. We've sent you something special.
Wow, that's really good. When talking about sending something special, we were discussing the handwritings that you have. You do have someone that are basic, and is it possible for an executive director from a nonprofit to use their own handwriting on their cards? How does this process work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have 30 some odd handwriting styles that are available to everybody. If you don't like those, we have hundreds of handwriting styles that people have generated for themselves. So you have to fill out a series of worksheets. It's very similar to going back to preschool and practicing your letters. And from those worksheets, we capture all the nuances and intricacies of how you write, whether that's cursive, block, all caps, or somewhere in between. We capture how you connect 2 O's together. Do you cross 2 T's together with 1 crossbar or 2? All those little intricacies we really capture, and we create a handwriting style as close to yours as possible. I mean, we have famous celebrities that use us for that reason. If you don't want to make that investment, because it does cost between $1,000 and $1,500, depending on if you're a block handwriting or a cursive handwriting style, you can also just have your signature replicated, which is a one-time fee of $250 American. And then you can just sign your notes with your signature, which also adds a nice touch. And we have people that have like the peace sign in their signature or a heart, and they really kind of play up the fun associated with a handwritten note.
Wow. Donor retention is a critical challenge for nonprofits. What strategies or tactics have you found to be successful in boosting donor retention rates through appreciation marketing, with the experience that you have with your nonprofits you support?
I think it's really pretty straightforward that you just need to stay in constant communication. And again, this is not just handwritten notes, this is emails and social media presence as well. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, that 2 to 4 handwritten note cadence a year, staying in touch, and that should be a mix of both drive for donation as well as just strict appreciation. So, for instance, with Team Rubicon, after a big disaster, they'll send out handwritten notes asking for donations. But other times of year, they'll just send you a handwritten note thanking you for your donation or just wishing you a happy birthday. So you don't want every note to have the same content requesting a donation or pleading for more support. You really want it to be a mix of donation and drive. And I think having those two different, drive and appreciation rather, and really having that mix is important. I think you should also consider having a mix of different card types. So not every card should be on your cause's stationery. For instance, a thank you note might come across as more personable if it's a generic thank you note that just says thank you or we appreciate you without the branding of the cause. Whereas your annual drive handwritten note might serve better on stationery for your cause, because then it seems a little bit more official. And then the same thing with the birthday note. Perhaps the birthday note that you send should be a pretty generic birthday card, something that doesn't really have a lot of branding, that makes it seem more personable, like you went out and bought this person a birthday card versus trying to use their birthday as an opportunity to drive donations.
Yeah, I agree with you. And do you know that nonprofit often face limit budgets for marketing and donor engagement?
Yeah.
How can them maximize the resources and implement such a very nice tool like yours, being more cost effective?
Yeah, unfortunately, handwritten notes are not the cheapest solution out there. I mean, the very first thing we have to do is print, which is the very first and the very last thing other platforms such as these laser printed cards do. But that's just step one. Then we have to feed it in the robots, then we have to match it to an envelope, put a real stamp on it, and send it out. So it's not going to be as inexpensive as those other forms of communication. However, we've found that the return on investment is substantially higher. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an example for a cause here. However, we work with a number of car dealerships in the United States, and some have replaced their printed outreach with handwritten outreach, and they've seen a 27 times greater response rate to handwritten outreach over print. And then when you take into consideration rather the additional cost of this handwritten outreach, it's still got a 7 times greater return on investment than printed. So I think it's worth an experimentation by the cause to see if this would work for them. I'm not saying our solution can be for everybody. However, if you also have a room of volunteers that are manually writing these handwritten notes, and you're only paying them in pizza or a party afterwards, you can kind of think, gee, how much is that pizza party costing me? Perhaps by taking those funds and instead using them towards a automated handwritten note campaign, you can improve the consistency of those notes, reduce risk, because as people's hands cramp and maybe you have a a donor that's not happy to be there for whatever reason. They could write things that aren't supposed to be in there. With our solution, we're able to mitigate that risk and also improve the speed of delivery. We can handle tens of thousands of handwritten notes a day versus a small group, which might not be able to get them out that quickly. So you should really consider all the hard and soft costs involved and see if this is the right strategy. I'm not going to say it's right for everybody, but I think it's worth at least experimenting.
Yeah, something that really works for nonprofits is storytelling. And this is a very powerful tool for nonprofits to communicate their impact. How can nonprofit incorporate storytelling into their appreciation marketing initiatives?
Yeah, so we work with a organization that provides meals at disasters. This is a separate organization from Team Rubicon. This is another disaster organization. And on their cards, each of their cards, they feature the location where the disaster occurred globally, as well as statistics of how many people they fed, the impact of their work. And they've really created a story there through statistics and imagery. And then the message in the note provides a greater level of detail of the story, talking about one or two people that have been served by the meals and aided by the meals, and really kind of make it very personal in that way. We have another organization, a university in the States, helps raise funds for a scholarship program. And what they do is they have the students that are the beneficiaries of these scholarships fill out online forms explaining the benefits that they've received from the scholarships. They can't seem to get these kids to actually sit down and write handwritten notes, so this is their solution. We then use our handwritten robots to transcribe what they type into those forms into handwritten notes and mail those to the donors, really kind of making this a very personal experience as they get the full story of the impact of their donation. So that's been a very interesting project we're doing with that university.
That's really cool. I think if you can share more cases, you said you have some celebrities. What else can you share? What some ideas you can share with the nonprofits that will be useful for them?
Well, I think one thing that's universal is just the personal aspect of a handwritten note. It literally stands up on desks. And this is not unique to a nonprofit. I think a lot of marketing to a nonprofit or to a donor is no different than marketing to any other consumer. And from the smallest to the largest, for a very small business in the United States, he's a piano tuner, and he's in your house once a year to tune your piano. And then after tuning your piano, he sends you a handwritten note. Thank you for the opportunity to tune your piano. When he returns to your house a year later, that handwritten note is often standing up on the piano. That is not real estate you can buy. You can't place a billboard on somebody's most prized possession in their most cherished room in their house. And yet handwritten notes are voluntarily placed there because they're held in such high regard. And every time those people sit down to play their piano, they're reminded of the experience they had with that piano tuner. So I think understanding the power of a handwritten note, and that could be an actual handwritten note or one that's written by a company like Handwrytten, and understanding that it is still probably even more powerful now than it was 5 or 10 years ago, because everything's moved digital and people simply don't take the time to send handwritten notes. During COVID, we were talking to a nonprofit that was using us, and I was on the call with them because I was helping them with an integration. And I said, well, how is this working out for you? And they said, well, it's working really well. In fact, one person who received the handwritten note called in crying. And now I think that had more to do with COVID than anything else, because everybody was so isolated during the time. Anytime somebody reaches out and makes a genuine gesture of trying to be personal and intimate with that person, they emotionally intimate with that person, I think it really struck a chord during COVID, during a time of isolation. So while it might not hit the same chord today, and I have no interest in making people cry, I think as we get more and more digital and busier and busier and busier with all the things in our digital lives, pivoting left when everybody else is pivoting right to digital, I think is a very important thing for all marketers, nonprofit or not. We have in the nonprofit sector, another area where we work closely with is some civil rights organizations. There, what they do is to promote liberties and their cause is they send out retro or historic posters of their old causes from 50 years ago as a greeting card, because they know these greeting cards are going to stand up. And then on the inside of the card, they talk about the historic benefit their organization has really driven in the United States. And they've been very successful with that line of greeting cards and have done it for multiple years now. So that's another example. Unfortunately, I don't have too many more to share, but it's just kind of this ongoing cadence that I think you have to incorporate in your overall marketing mix.
Yes, of course. This particular marketing strategy always help nonprofits overcome this fatigue donor that they have and keep them engaged and committed with their cause, for sure.
100%.
And what made you create this company? Tell us a little bit about your story. What motivated you to create something like that?
Yeah, so prior to Handwrytten, I started Handwrytten in 2014. 10 years prior, I started this company called Cellit, Cellit, and we grew to be one of the largest mobile marketing companies in the United States with a focus on mobile CRM, customer relationship management. And by the end of that company, we were sending millions of text messages on a day for some of the largest brands in America, including Sam's Club, which is a division of Walmart, Abercrombie and Fitch, Toys R Us, Office Max, Crate and Barrel, and many other brands in the United States. And what I realized, and while the marketing was very, very effective, what I realized was we were part of the problem, because the average consumer was now inundated with electronic communication. For instance, the average office worker receives 135 emails a day, and apparently, according to stats you can find on the internet, they spend almost a quarter of their time a day just managing their email inbox. When you receive so much communication that way, it really loses its value and it becomes more of a chore than anything else, where you're just trying to delete the emails as quickly as possible. You don't even have time to read them. When you tie that growth, that explosive growth of email with text messaging, tweets, Facebook messages, and all the rest, electronic communication is just simply overwhelming, and your message gets lost in the clutter. And I truly mean, I believe that. And now I think it's even worse than ever before. There's been this kind of this change in email marketing, where it used to be like a MailChimp campaign or Sendinblue or something like that, where it looked like a marketing piece. And now everybody's trying to trick you by sending you these little emails that look like they're written by somebody. And then if you don't respond, stop to them, they'll keep emailing you over and over again with no unsubscribe button. So I think all of these reasons are devaluing the importance of email and electronic communication. And people are really looking for things that don't seem scalable. And what's not scalable? Well, handwritten notes don't seem scalable. Video emails, where like there's a company actually based in Australia called Bonjoro that you take a video of yourself talking to the donor or the recipient and then send them that video. At least there, it seems much more personal than an email or a text message. And then finally, a phone call. But the problem with a phone call is, while it is considered the most personal, and we did a survey, you can go to our website, handwrytten.com, and download the consumer outreach survey that's available on the website under the resources tab. While phone calls are considered the most personal, they also run the risk of being considered the most annoying, because a phone call occurs when it's convenient for the initiator, not when it's convenient for you, the person on the other end. So unlike phone calls, which are highly, highly annoying, handwritten notes are also very personal, but they have very low risk of being annoying. So if you're trying to walk that fine line of personal but not annoying, handwritten notes are really your best option.
I
Talking. Oh, go ahead.
No, I totally agree. I do once a day a personal note and send to my clients. I really use this strategy too.
Yeah, and we in this survey, if you visit our website, there's a lot of stats in there that aren't unique to nonprofits, but just talk about how most consumers feel the brands they interact with don't appreciate them. And you can certainly extend this to the nonprofit sphere. And if you don't feel appreciated by a brand, what would make you feel most appreciated? And of course, being who we are, we found that handwritten notes would make you feel very appreciated. And then if you do feel appreciated by a brand, or you can extend that to nonprofit, what would you be more willing to do? And those are spend more money with that brand, buy more frequently, and refer more people. And I think all of those apply to nonprofits. You can donate more frequently, donate in larger amounts, and serve as really a zealot and tell other people about that nonprofit cause. I think you'll see a lot of that comes by as you mentioned at the beginning, appreciation marketing, really helping people feel appreciated. I think there's so much truth to that.
Thank you, David. I think everything that you share here was very valuable for our nonprofit sector. And I want to thank you for joining us on this enlightening episode of the Wisdom for Nonprofit podcast. Today, we had the pleasure of welcoming a true innovator in the industry leader, David Wachs, the founder of Handwrytten. We are very grateful for the sharing and wisdom and expertise that he shared here for our nonprofit professionals. Please stay tuned for future episodes where we will continue to explore the latest trends, insights, and strategies to empower and elevate nonprofits in their mission to make the difference. Thank you for being part of the Wisdom for Nonprofit community. Together, we can inspire positive change and create a brighter future for nonprofits and the communities we serve. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Wisdom for Nonprofits. To hear past and future episodes, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast channel. We appreciate your reviews and suggestions for future show topics. If you have a question or a suggestion, please write to us at podcast@wity.tech. More resources are available for you at our website, wity.tech. And please join us in the Wisdom for Nonprofits group on LinkedIn. Wisdom for Nonprofits is copyright 2019 by Betina Pflug and wity.tech. All rights reserved.